I'll be making 4 loaves of sourdough using recipes from Farmhouse on Boone and Ballerina Farm. I did use a different list of ingredients, which I will put in the blog post linked in the description. The first step is to always feed your starter, and I don't necessarily do a 1-to-1 ratio. I do a little less warm water than flour, and I use King Arthur unbleached all-purpose. I typically cover it in saran wrap and then stick it in the microwave with a cup of warm water in there. And my husband just showed us it was 8:22 when I fed the starter. And then as you can see, the next morning it doubled. There are different methods to doing this next step, but I decided to show you the float test to see if your starter is active enough. I've actually made these loaves with discard straight from the fridge, and my loaves turned out pretty good. So just be comforted by that. But in this method, you put the sourdough starter in the warm water and mix it all together, and then you'll add your flour and mix that all together. Next, you'll cover that bowl in saran wrap and let it rest for about 30 minutes. And I never really time these things. I just kind of, it flows naturally. And then the next step in this particular process is to add more water and the salt together, and then you'll mix that together as well. After that's nice and mixed, you'll cover it in saran wrap and set it aside for about 30 minutes. And then you will start a series of stretch and folds. Some recipes call for more stretch and folds over a shorter amount of time, or really they all vary. For these particular bowls, I did a stretch and fold every maybe 30 minutes, and I think I did a total of 5 stretch and folds. And so you'll see this one was one of my first, and I didn't actually film all of them because I forgot, but you can tell towards the end that it just the gluten really starts to form. After the stretch and folds, I let it bulk rise for probably about 4 or 5 hours, and it is the summer, so I think that it probably rose a little bit faster, but I was out and about running errands and came back to this, and I am using a rice scooper because I lost my dough scraper. I don't know where it went. In any case, you'll use your dough cutter to split the dough down the middle, and then you will form 2 balls. I'm also probably not using the correct terminology during this whole video. I'm just kind of showing my process because I thought it would be fun. And quite honestly, this video is taking a lot longer than I expected, but I just thought it would be fun to be able to show my process. And it's pretty cool that there are many different ways to bake a loaf of sourdough. My dad has a totally different method and makes beautiful loaves. So if that's any comfort as well, there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's not really one way to make sourdough. It's very flexible, and once you kind of know what you're looking for, it's really fun and you don't really have to overthink it. Once they sat for a while, I stretched them out into a rectangle-ish like shape and then fold the sides in and then either roll it up or meet them kind of in the middle. This one I decided to roll up, but I actually think that I might have done this wrong. I think that you're supposed to do this step before you actually create tension in the dough, so before you go back and forth with the dough cutter like that. So what I actually decided to do, I just went with it and I let them sit out on the counter for another probably 15-20 minutes before I went ahead and put them in the baskets. Lightly floured the surface, and then I just use Kroger plastic bags to put the dough in to stick in the fridge overnight, and I actually got that from Farmhouse on Boone. I thought it was really smart. And then here we are, the morning of baking day, and my favorite part by far is scoring. Sometimes I spend more time with it, and then other times I just really need to stick it in the oven. I usually preheat my Dutch oven in a 500-degree oven for about 30 minutes to an hour, and I have really found that that helps a lot. In the summer months, I tend to wake up a little bit early so that it doesn't heat up the house too bad. I use a Lodge cast iron Dutch oven for one of my Dutch ovens, and it always burns the bottom of my loaves, so I actually put a little piece of tinfoil under that Dutch oven, and I have found that that helps. Here is the razors that I'm using. They're actually my husband's. I'd gotten him a single blade razor for shaving, but he really didn't like it very much, and so I just took the razors, and they work great. There's, I think, 100 in the pack, so that's been really nice. But this is the second set of 2 loaves, and for whatever reason, this dough seemed a lot better. So I don't know what that's about, but I did prep them all the same way, I thought. So thanks for watching if you made it this far. I enjoyed making possibly my only YouTube video because it took so much longer than I thought it would. But it really was a lot of fun to film, and I really enjoy making sourdough, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.